Hi everyone, meteorologist Brian Bennett. Wanted to quickly let you know what's happening in the tropics right now and what you can expect as far as we move forward over the next week or two. We could actually have a hurricane in the Atlantic by this time next week. Right now, though, it looks like it wants to remain a storm for the fishes. Now, we are moving into the peak of hurricane season. September 10th, climatologically speaking, is the peak of hurricane season. So it's very important to keep a close eye on the Atlantic this time of year. And also this time of year is the anniversary of some pretty major hurricanes. We just had the anniversary of Hurricane Harvey. Hurricane Irma anniversary is coming up here shortly. Today is actually the 13-year anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. So this is the time of year that we can see major storms develop. Of course, we remember with Katrina quite a bit of flooding, over $100 billion worth of damage 13 years ago, and unfortunately nearly 2,000 people passed away from the storm as well. All right, so what's going on in the Atlantic Basin right now? An area of storminess in the Gulf of Mexico could develop into a weak low pressure as it moves off to the northwest. An area of storminess over the Lesser Antilles could possibly develop into a tropical depression as it drifts towards the Gulf of Mexico. The most likely area for development over the next week or so is actually off the coast of Africa, where we have a tropical wave that could actually develop into a tropical storm or a hurricane by this time next week. Again, right now the models are wanting to take the storm system to the north and away from land. First of all, the Gulf of Mexico. Here is the RPM computer model, and here's the state of Florida, and here's the northern Gulf Coast. The greens and red represents rainfall. Put this into motion over the next 72 hours, and you start to see a little bit of a weak counterclockwise circulation, indicating that the storm is starting to try to become tropical, but there's just not enough real estate for that to happen over the Gulf of Mexico. So we'll probably see enhanced rainfall over Louisiana and Mississippi as we move into the next 3 days. Doesn't look to have any impact on the state of Florida, and probably won't even become a tropical depression, but just kind of a sign that the atmosphere is getting a little more conducive for tropical development. All right, so you don't have to worry about what's going on in the Gulf of Mexico. What about the number 2 area of storminess, the Lesser Antilles? Let's pop over to the European computer model, and this is the mean sea level pressure over the next couple of days. This little kink here is happening on Monday, and it would be called a tropical wave basically, and could enhance rainfall just a little bit on Monday as that area of storminess moves off to the northwest over Florida. Doesn't look like it'll be organized enough to actually be a tropical system, perhaps until it moves into the Gulf of Mexico. That's when the European says, okay, we might be dealing with perhaps a tropical depression or a real weak tropical storm due to the heat of the Gulf of Mexico as the storm moves off to the northwest towards perhaps Mississippi, Louisiana, or maybe even Texas. Doesn't look to have a huge impact on Florida. Again, not quite enough time for it to develop into a tropical system. Here's a look at the European computer model's precipitation forecast. And right now I'm showing you Monday afternoon. And here's the state of Florida. You can see some of the reds and blues indicating some heavier rainfall. Moving into Tuesday, the model suggesting that some of that rain from the tropical wave could enhance our rainfall rates just a bit more in the state of Florida. And that would really be your only indication that we have a tropical wave moving over, would be just a bit more rain than we've been seeing already, which, as you guys know, we've already been seeing a ton of rain over the last couple of weeks. And then as the storm system moves off to the west-northwest, the European system has it becoming a little bit more organized, maybe even a weak tropical depression or a very weak tropical storm as it moves into the northern Gulf Coast. So it's something we'll continue to watch over the next couple of days, but I'm not too concerned about it at this point. But again, another sign that the tropics are starting to get more active. All right, the third area of storminess that I mentioned off the coast of Africa, and this is a tropical wave that's going to be moving into the very warm waters right around the Cape Verde Islands and could become a hurricane by this time next week. Let's pop over to the European computer model. Again, look at mean sea level pressure here. The blue representing a low pressure, high representing area, or excuse me, the orange representing area of high pressure. So there's the tropical wave on Friday. Move this into the future. You can see the European computer model actually wants to strengthen the area of low pressure, but weaken this area of Bermuda high pressure way out in the Atlantic. That allows the low to curve off to the north, again, possibly becoming a tropical storm or even a hurricane as it continues to drift off to the north. But fortunately, again, with that high pressure weakening, it's not going to allow the low pressure to go farther to the west. But as always, we'll continue to watch it just in case that high pressure doesn't weaken as it's forecast to, and it allows this low pressure to move farther to the west. But right now, again, as you can see, that area of low pressure, which will likely become a tropical storm or hurricane, is going to go off to the west and then curve to the north and probably even remain east of the little island of Bermuda, which is right about there. This is a European computer model run. It's always a good idea to look at other computer models, and in this case, the GFS model completely agrees. It has that area of low pressure moving off to the west, turning to the north and breaking through that area of high pressure and staying east of Bermuda, which would keep this hurricane out in the Atlantic and a storm for the fishes, which is great news for us as we move towards the anniversary of Hurricane Irma. We definitely don't want to see any tropical activity, so if it wants to stay out to sea, that's okay by me. And the Hurricane Center agrees. The Hurricane Center has a 60% chance of that area of storminess becoming a tropical cyclone over the next 5 days. So again, something we'll continue to watch as that moves off to the west-northwest. I want to go back to the European computer model real quick, just to show you that things are heating up. So not only am I watching that tropical wave that will likely become a tropical storm, again, that's right here. Watch that one more time. That moves off to the west-northwest, possibly becomes a hurricane. But then notice that we continue to see these tropical waves drop off the Saharan part of Africa. There's another one. This is September 7th. And we have other tropical waves moving over parts of Africa. And this is where hurricanes originate this time of year. So we'll have to continue to watch this part of the Atlantic as we move through the next couple of weeks. Hopefully the high pressure system will remain such that these low pressures will just continue to wrap around and remain out to sea. But there's a possibility that that high pressure could fill in and allow these possibly developing storms to move off to the west and possibly become a threat for part of the lower 48. But bottom line is right now, nothing major you need to be concerned about. Yes, we're seeing activity pick up in the Atlantic, but right now, no major threats to land. I've seen a couple of social media posts and even something on one of the local media channels here suggesting that Florida could have a tropical storm or a hurricane within the next week. That is not the case. That's not what we're looking at in any channel or online avenue that's suggesting that is over taunting their ability to forecast, and just is not the case right now. Really what you should take from all of this is that we're looking at things starting to become more conducive in the Atlantic and the Gulf for development, so time to pay closer attention. Changing gears real quick, wanted to let you know I'm probably going to head down to Sarasota tomorrow to take a look at what's going on with the red tide in that area. That's obviously another major concern environmentally for us. All right, guys, that's it for now. If anything does develop out of these tropical systems, I'll be the first to let you know. Till then, have a great and safe evening.